Hello and welcome to Racing News 365 answers your fan questions from last weekend's Canadian Grand Prix. To answer your fan questions, well, I can't do this video alone. So joining myself, Nick Golding, in the glitzy Eindhoven Racing News 365 HQ is none other than the awesome duo. That is 2023 Young Journalist of the Year, Sam Absolutely Peace Coop, and the main man himself, lead editor Ian Parks. Very nice, we're all here together in the HQ in Eindhoven, and we've got to kickstart, Ian, with a little bit about Montreal before we get into the brilliant fan questions. Thank you so much to those who sent questions in. What is it about the Canadian Grand Prix? Because every single year, it always seems to throw up chaos. I can only think of maybe one other circuit on the calendar which does that on a regular basis in Sao Paulo, but what is it about Canada?
It's the type of circuit that it is. Long straights leading into sharp corners, good chicanes. And then there's always the element of the weather as well. It's so unpredictable. I mean, this year was quite extraordinary. The fact that we had 4 glorious days of sunshine, really unusual for Montreal. Heaven knows what it's going to be like next year when it switches to May. That's going to be something intriguing. But generally, it's just the nature of the circuit. It's just a really good, honest, backs to the wall circuit where drivers are really tested. As I say, good straights, good hairpins, good chicanes, and overall you always get something like that, and you've got to get a really good Grand Prix out of it. And then of course you've got walls as well. Bearing in mind it's a semi-permanent street track because it's often used out of season for various different events. So you do have those walls that are so close. Wall of Champions, we know, has taken many a driver out of an event over the course of a Grand Prix weekend. And it just has all the classic ingredients that you need for a good Grand Prix. And more often than not, you get incidents as we've seen.
Yeah, it's certainly one of, if not my favourite track in Canada. Let's get on to some fan questions. So again, thank you very much for sending them in. We'll start off with a question that's come from Jay Rich. And the question is, and you can both open this, you can both answer this one. Do you guys think McLaren will that's a new word, will now favour Oscar Piastri for the championship instead of Lando Norris since his mistake? Sam, do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, certainly. So first of all, no, not yet, at least. I think we've got 14 rounds to go. We're 10 of 24 into the season. So it's way too early for the team to start favouring one driver over the other. In terms of the added context of Lando's mistake, I don't think that they will, because I think the one thing that McLaren has always kind of shown is that they're a very fair-minded, level-headed team. They will look at this internally, they'll review it, but there won't be any kind of, we've got doubts about Lando, so we're going to start, kind of stacking the deck in Oscar's favour. Nothing like that, nothing untoward. I think they'll give them an equal playing field to go about the championship as they already have been. So I don't think it changes anything from that perspective either. But as I said, it's just way too early in the year for them to be considering that. Later on, if Max is still kind of looming large, as he is, then they're going to have to eventually. But yeah, as I said, let them race for a while.
Ian, anything to add?
I think Sam's answered that eloquently enough. The answer is no, quite obviously. It's far too early in the season. It's only a 22-point gap. And there's so much to play for. 14 Grand Prix, another few sprints to come as well. So there's a bucket load of points on the table. And at this stage of the season, one mistake does not wreck Lando Norris's title challenge. Simple as that.
Jay Rich, thank you very much for the question. The next one, Sam, I'm going to throw to you, being our F2 expert. And it comes from Joe. Joe, thank you very much for your question. Why has Arvid Lindblad been given an FIA exemption for his super license, but Colton Herta wasn't?
So that's a very good question, because it was a very contentious topic, especially when Colton was denied the super license back in 2013, I think it was, or even 2022 for 2023, not 2013. So yeah, it's a very good question. Ultimately, the biggest part of it is that Colton Herta would have been given an exemption on the grounds of he is a good driver, he's demonstrated it, but he doesn't have the requisite 40 super license points to allow him to drive an F1. Arvid Lindblad, through his junior career in F4, Formula Regional, he had an Oceanic Championship that he won at the start of the year, and also F3, has already got over 40 super license points. So he has met that criteria. And last year, the FIA moved to add in a clause in their in the kind of the guideline or regulation that allows for a driver under the age of 18 to be able to be given an exemption if they have demonstrated outstanding ability and maturity in a single-seater car. They felt that Arvid Lindblad had done that through his junior career. That's why he was given an exemption. So it's not a like-for-like comparison in that sense.
Very well explained. Joe, thank you very much for your question. Next one is from Lutfi, and apologies in advance if I pronounce any of the names incorrectly, but the question from Lutfi, and Ian, I'll throw it to you. How did Lewis Hamilton end up so far behind in Canada?
This is an easy one. Thanks for the question. We have to blame a poor little groundhog for that. We've seen in the past that numerous Canadian Grand Prix little furry animals scurrying across the track, and more often than not, it is these little creatures called groundhogs. Unfortunately, I think it was around about 11, 12 or something like that. Lewis hit a groundhog. He was devastated by it. Animal lover, vegan, as we know. It's the first time he's ever struck an animal throughout his entire Grand Prix career. And unfortunately, in striking the poor little groundhog on this occasion, it cost him 20 points of downforce on his Ferrari, pretty much equating to around half a second a lap. So after that point, he was completely out of the equation. So,
I mean, that in itself, that's the first time he's hit an animal, is remarkable. Like, obviously, Dutch company, Zandvoort, the birds. Yeah. There's so many drivers end up hitting birds at Zandvoort. Yeah. So that's quite remarkable. It's the first time for him.
First time.
It's both a remarkable yet saddening statistic.
It is very sad. It's very
trying to look at that one. But anyways, very good explanation as well. Look, thank you very much for your question. Next one, I can answer actually. It comes from Brains Matter. Thank you very much for your question. How did Lando get classified in the final results if he retired from the race? Quite simply, the reason he was classified is because he completed 90% of the race. That's also why the FIA were able to award him a time penalty for the clash with Oscar rather than, for example, a grid penalty for Austria. So actually, had he not completed 90%, Ian, there's a good chance that Lando would have had a grid penalty hang over him.
Yeah, because they have to apply a regulation, and a regulation requires a penalty because he was found to have caused the collision. Unfortunately, it was with his teammate Oscar. But as you say, because he completed 90%, he was classified. They could apply the time penalty. Otherwise, if he hadn't been 90%, as you said, more than likely, probably 3 or 5 place grid penalty for the Austrian Grand Prix.
So actually, just to stick on this point a little bit, he's quite fortunate in a way that, yes, okay, whilst he clashed into his teammate, which you never want to do, the fact it was a time penalty which has had no repercussions on his championship fight, in a weird way, he's lucky, isn't he?
It's a weird one. It is a really weird one. But I get it. It's the regulations.
Yeah, it's the regulations.
I mean, for me, and we were discussing this on the drive up to Eindhoven last night, for me, a driver should be classified when he takes the checkered flag.
I agree.
Rather than because he's not completed a race.
It's almost a rule from a bygone era when you had far more retirements. Yeah.
It's a good point, actually, for those who are watching this video. Let us know in the comments below if you think the rules maybe in the future should be changed. Should a driver only be classed as classified if they actually cross the checkered flag at the finish line? I think that's an interesting point. I think, who knows, maybe we'll see something change in the future. Unlikely, but who knows. Final question comes from Claire, and again, I'll open it to the pair of you, but Ian, you can go first. Is it risky moving Montreal to May for 2026? Everyone is saying the weather is terrible.
I touched on this a little bit at the start of the video. And okay, we had 4 glorious days of sunshine at Montreal for this year's Grand Prix.
Right.
But I've attended Canadian Grand Prix in the past where it's been 4 days of rain. And this has been in a good time of the year in early June. Now we're going back 3 weeks. Maybe 4, I think it might be 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah. That is hugely significant for the time of year for Montreal. That means the weather is almost certainly going to be much colder. We can more often than not expect a greater deal of rain. So it's going to play a significant role in future Canadian Grand Prix. Basically, wrap up warm, bring a pack of Mac, because it's going to be cold predominantly and wet more often than not.
I saw a picture on social media actually when it was announced that Canada would be moving to May that showed Canada actually the circuit under a layer of snow for the date this time, basically the weekend that will be hosting it next year. It was snowing this year.
It's one of those
which
months
is crazy.
that you could have anything, literally.
You've got to wonder how the Mercedes would run in snow.
Well, I
mean, they love the cold conditions, so...
I was actually going to ask you, Sam, because weirdly enough, we know that Mercedes does like these cooler conditions. They're probably looking at the Canada thinking, you know what? If we keep George, he could do the double next year.
Oh, well, I mean, it goes back to it's a very wide-ranging point because you look at what we're hearing about the Mercedes power unit. There's all these factors that could very well lead to that. I mean, I'm surprised Toto Wolff isn't starting to be like, well, should we not consider a winter championship? Like, let's bring it back a little bit. Formula E starts in December, so
it does.
Yeah. But again, who knows? Next year, new regulations. You could find a Mercedes W17, let's assume, that likes warmer conditions. You just don't know.
Time will tell. That brings an end to us answering your fan questions from the Canadian Grand Prix. If you are watching this video and have enjoyed it, please do smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Sam, Ian, amazing as always. We'll be back on Monday for the next episode of the Racing News 365 podcast. See you later.
As always, thank you for watching. Take care, folks.
Thanks for joining us.